Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. And we went
now with zero pants. Sorry, go
ahead. So we were talking about House predictions about the Republican primary in 24, etc. Gamblers on a betting website ranked DeSantis' chance of winning the presidency as worse than Gavin Newsom, who is not running.
Oh,
so that's
all right. Well, there's that.
Wow.
Yes,
for the DeSantis
I agree.
campaign.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's how it's going to work out. Yeah. And by the way, more than likely, Newsom will follow the Biden next 4 years. That's that. I would say that's the tee up.
Fantastic. Yeah. But so what do you think is going to happen? Trump's going to drop out? Do you think it's going to be
well, I think during the indictment process, when he actually has to go to court for this stuff, which will be gnarly over the next couple of months, and the hearings will get increasingly more stressful because he'll realize that he's screwed and run out of lawyers who are willing to lie to him, that you're going to see what I would call the Weinstein and Cosbying of the defendant Trump, where he gets a walker with a fresh set of tennis balls and pretends to be blind and all this kind of stuff. But he's winking every time he's in the camera like, I'm not really broke it down. This is how you do this. And he's like, he's so stupid. He can't even like scam the court without his own ego getting in the way.
I think
and what you'll get is then ultimately a deferred sentencing thing based on house arrest at most, ultimately.
Boo.
And because he's an old man.
Yeah.
And that's his only way out on some of these charges. It is his only way out.
Yeah. I think Gen Z is going to turn out. We've been talking about big time. I think all of these Supreme Court rulings are going to energize people. We were just talking about the 4th of July holiday weekend marked by at least 17 mass shootings.
Yep.
I mean, I just think at some point as you were saying, like when 70% of the American people are for something, I just think this can't hold forever in a democracy.
Right.
Without
And if you can't give the party that's actually trying to do something about it back up on these issues, do you really care?
Right.
I don't think so. I think you might. There's a lot of slacktivists out there who think, we need to third party, you to party, blah blah, that kind of conversation, which has nothing to do with the meat and potatoes voters out there who are really do care about this country. And you've got, interestingly enough, Gen Z and the millennials as voters are maturing. Again, the youth vote is something everybody chases every single time because you're trying to get the new voters. But ultimately, it's the trend in the direction of support for your party that matters as people age up into their 20s and 30s, and that's headed towards the Democrats.
Yeah. By the way, I'm getting happy clappier, Hal. I don't know about you. That not just Trump, but a whole lot of people are going to jail. Lynn Wood, that lunatic that looks like Trump, was one of his attorneys that challenged Trump's loss, has given up his law license as multiple states weigh disciplining.
Lynn Wood.
Multiple states are weighing disciplining him. I am hoping that the J6, the entire
fever will break.
Yeah. No, but what I'm saying is that there's more people. I mean, what about the people in Congress? What about Ted Cruz? What about Ted Cruz?
You know why a bunch of the J6ers that almost got away with it, that were in the crowd beating cops and all that stuff, you know why a bunch of them are going to jail? Why they're finally getting harsher sentences? Is because Tucker Carlson accidentally outed them with his stupid playing of the footage.
Yep.
And that's why they stopped doing it on Fox. Fox curtailed it because a lot of the J6 defendants were saying they were going to get by on I wasn't really there. I didn't participate. And because there's so much footage, they couldn't go through all of it. And these guys were like, they'd never seen me at that door until Tucker Carlson played the footage of me basically bashing in that door past the QAnon shaman,
Ted Cruz
now I'm busted.
Yeah, Ted Cruz needs to go to jail because he's irritating. And this broke my brain. Ted Cruz cites the sexuality of IRS whistleblower as a reason to believe his claims. He's gay. He's a gay Democrat married to a man. The only antidote, like getting a snake bite of libido-killing poison from Mike Pence, is House Parks, who is pure sex. It's the only thing that can revive your sex life.
Let me just say this right there. Okay, our Navy is, in terms of ships, half the size of China's, but weighs twice as much because China counts every canoe and fishing boat painted green in their entire in any of their waters as a military vessel. Right. Secondly, they have 2 aircraft carriers, super carriers. One they bought from the Soviets a long time ago that is, quite frankly, to coin a phrase, crap. And the other one used to be a hotel. Yes. They parked it and turned it into a hotel.
Girth is more important than length.
I don't know. I mean, I think that There's going to be a big argument about whether or not even the Chinese military can scrape the crap out of the sides, I think is the idea that you were floating there. But the point I'm trying to make is that...
Not really. I was just making a D joke.
Oh, you know me and numbers because I'm named after a computer.
Right.
Notice him playing with those numbers. If after the appropriations bill, which by the way has to go through the House, which they insisted on not doing a giant package and doing these individual appropriations, he says that'll be tantamount to a 1% cut after inflation. Well, inflation has come down 3%, you moron. So maybe it's a 1.5 rise. You don't make me do the long math. I'll show my work, son.
Nancy in Arkansas, you're on with Hal. Hey, Nance. Hi, Nancy.
Oh, Nancy's not.
Nancy! Oh, we lost her.
Yes.
There she is. Hi,
There
Nancy.
she is.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Hi.
All right. Go ahead, Nancy.
You're on.
Okay. I'm sending prayers for you and your mom,
Oh, thank you.
first of all.
Thank you, Nancy.
And I want you to know about the Ignorant Institution. Hello?
Yes,
You
we
have
can
your
hear you.
TV on super loud, Nancy.
Yeah,
just
there's
a
a
minute.
delay. She's listening. She's talking to us
listening
via
on the
television.
radio.
Also,
Oops.
the Ignorant Institution is what we used to call school in Kentucky.
That's a little
Go ahead,
diddly
Nancy.
joke.
I was just
That was a
filling
diddly
time.
joke.
That was a diddly, definitely.
Okay, Jenny in Baltimore, you're on with Hal. Hi, Jen.
Hey, Stephanie. So glad to talk to you again. I wanted to congratulate Jody.
Oh, this is
And
the
I
giggling
especially
whore.
wanted to-
This is the giggling whore in Baltimore.
This is the giggling whore,
Okay.
yes,
Aw.
yes, yes. Although today
Is there another kind?
Right, exactly. Especially if you talk about math, Hal.
Right?
Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to tell Jody that I so appreciated her last week.
Oh, thank
never,
you.
ever referring to the former guy as Trump. You always refer to him as Donald, which differentiates him from his niece, which is awesome because she is awesome.
Right.
She
And
is.
I just so appreciated that. Thank you very much.
I learned that
Jody.
from Mary.
Yes.
Of course.
Mhm.
And I also wanted to say that I don't know if you've talked about him today, but RFK Jr. is
Yeah.
the bane of my existence right now. I hate this guy so much. And I know he's a friend of yours, Steph, so I'm sorry. But
Well, he was. I don't know what's like his family. I don't know what's happened
He
to
asked
him
you
either.
out. He had the hots for you, Stephanie.
that's right. That's right. Oh, who doesn't?
He has kind of
Who
a
doesn't?
shotgun approach. I'm just saying. If you read any of his autobiography,
He is a candidate.
Not that saying Steph isn't worth the strafe game.
Thank you.
I'm just saying,
What?
she's
Yeah.
worth a sniper, attraction laser.
Right. Thank
you, Hal.
For the record.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hal and I,
but here's the
back
thing.
in the day, had a TV producer threaten to hose us down if we didn't cool it on air with the
Yep.
flirting. But anyway, that's not important now.
Wow.
Jenny,
when
you know,
when
Hal,
you go in the class. Yeah.
Hal brought up a great point, though, that,
Yeah.
Ted Kennedy famously primaried Jimmy Carter, and Hal was arguing that, between that and Iran-Contra and whatever, that's what helped Reagan get in. And it's,
Yeah.
so there is some,
And
let's
think
say,
about
some
what a good
ego
person
in that
Jimmy-
family.
Think about what a decent,
Yeah.
good human being Jimmy Carter is,
Yeah.
and understand
Right.
that a Kennedy trying to primary him for no other reason than he just seems a little soft at what we want to get done.
Right.
Everything is old. Everything's a reboot with these idiots.
Yeah, and I'm sorry,
Everything.
but Bernie
But here's the
Bernie
thing.
did talk about primarying Obama the
did.
first time, and
Yeah.
I just we are
But here's the-
we really cannot afford any of this
Right.
now. We are
Right.
democracy
Childish.
is literally hanging by a thread.
Infantile.
100%. But here's the thing. RFK Jr. is the one who just demolished families like mine because he insisted that our autistic children were damaged by vaccines. And
Right.
it was such a huge grift that people were doing things like chelation therapy. People were buying secretin injections. Kids died because their parents were just so recklessly trying to cure a neurological disorder that has nothing to do with vaccines.
Right.
So
Right.
I just want to tell you, I really hate this guy, and I want him to drop out and lose and go away and stop showing his stupid steroid chest.
Oh dear.
Oh, my.
Thank you, Jim.
No, I like she's
dear.
absolutely right about that that aspect of the early anti-vaxxer movement that he was a part of. And the irony is that he is still running on the idea that there are some of the preservatives in vaccines
Marisol,
that they were originally blaming are no longer there.
Right,
They don't use them anymore.
And who-
and not because
Who
of
lifts
what
weights
they-
in jeans? That's all I want to know. Nobody lifts weights in
There-
jeans.
Well, sure they do.
Some of the
Rednecks.
old timers at
and
my
I,
gym, too.
as
Yeah.
as one. Here's who lifts weights and jeans with no shirt on. It's people who weren't intending to work out but decided to shoot an Instagram video because the rest of their campaign was not going anywhere, and they thought this will viral, and it did. It'll backfire is sort of ridiculous because everybody was like, "Oh, he's on testosterone replacement therapy." That's good to know. I'm sure his philandering ways have been curtailed now that he's pumping himself full of artificial testosterone. Meanwhile, what was that organic? We all need to go back to nature pharmaceuticals and
David,
science doesn't know what it's talking about.
What I've said is that the human growth hormone that he's been injecting is made by the very same pharma companies that make the vaccines that he rails against.
Front row. Yep. Hi, David. You're on with Hal. David.
Oh, yes.
Hi.
Hey.
I need to make a boring correction in the style of Al Franken.
Okay.
We were talking about that Trump property with all the Russian mothers. That is a true thing with the Trump properties, but that's a year-old story. That's what confused me when we were talking about that Sunny Isles Beach. Whereas I'm in North Miami Beach, which has no beach.
Are you listening to a different radio show on your fillings?
No. He was talking about when I was filling in. I think on Joan Esposito's show, we were talking about how they just Florida's passing this law and they're trying to outlaw anchor babies, and Trump is promising to end birthright citizenship. And ironically enough, in Miami, Trump Tower, it was basically a prenatal ward for Russian anchor babies.
All right.
So,
However, I would just like to point out that the Stephanie Miller Show certainly appreciates corrections of guests that we have on the show on comments they made on some other radio show that no one currently listening heard.
Well, and also
is a good use of our time, and we appreciate you.
Because in reference that I stand by what I said.
There you go.
Yeah.
Once again, the Stephanie Miller Show appreciates your cooperation in this matter. Okay. All right. Hal, have I mentioned lately that I don't call him Trump, I call him Hair Twitler or Mango Mussolini.
That works.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Is a clear and present danger and it continues to incite violence on a daily basis. A man arrested last week with weapons in former President Obama's D.C. neighborhood began live streaming in the area shortly after resharing a social media post from Trump in which Trump posted what he claimed was Obama's address. What's his name? Taranto, whatever. He's also made threats against Kevin McCarthy, Jamie Raskin. First of all, we played yesterday Lindsey Graham getting booed in South Carolina and called a traitor. So this guy, because Trump doesn't like Ryan, although Kevin McCarthy couldn't have his tongue farther up Trump's ass too.
Right.
He somehow, they're all rhinos.
He could.
Right.
He could almost taste Lindsey Graham's feet at this point. But for the record, Trump is never going to, and this is the happy clappy part. Trump is never going to be able to drive his crowd to do another Jan 6 for him. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Just understand that's not going anywhere. But because of the frustration with the lack of movement from the larger crowd, the chance of him driving lone wolves to do something specifically awful actually is sort of inversely proportional to the laziness of his general crowd. As they continue to just show up at rallies in smaller and smaller numbers and just yell at their television set, the weird ones like that guy and the guy who attacked the FBI office in Cincinnati and other places like that starts to go up, and it gets very dangerous on an individual level. And I think it was the shooter in Philly last week was posting pro-Trump stuff as well. By the way, not trans, by their own definition and all that stuff. I don't know where that stuff sort of carries forward, but ultimately it doesn't matter. I suppose you could find a trans person that's pro-Trump, and them shooting someplace up is equally as bad. But the point is, he's creating a frustration because he's like, our country's going to hell and nothing's happening. Yeah. And his own people aren't doing anything. They're just a bunch of front row Joes showing up like deadheads at these, increasingly smaller rally dinner-esque outdoor gathering, wandering, like Pied Piper of idiocy gatherings that he's having. And increasingly the more lethargic, angry, vocal but useless members of his crowd who don't even vote, by the way. They're not going to vote next time. They don't believe in voting. Everybody who's standing there watching one of his rallies is not voting. Right. They are not going to show up.
Here's the other good news. Republicans in battleground states, including Arizona and Michigan, are paying heavily for their full-throated support of Trump. Reuters reported.
Money.
Big donors, who have historically given millions to the state parties, are fleeing largely because they don't want to be associated with support for Trump's claims the election was stolen.
Right. And then the local ones, the small donors, are giving money to Trump, and it's going right up his backside. It's paying his legal bills. It's paying for foreign workers at Mar-a-Lago, which he just hired, 380 of them at Mar-a-Lago. That's where their stuff goes. It gets funneled to pay his bills. It doesn't even go to his real campaigning. And he puts those stupid Rumble videos up that are like 2 minutes long to kind of convince the crowd that there's a real campaign going on. And he only does events that someone else pays for. So he did Moms for Liberty and all these other stuff. But they basically, it's a post-presidency paid speaking tour posing as minor rallies. But he just can't. There's an ROI on it, so that's why he can't get these larger crowds.
In a totally unrelated story, future Senator Adam Schiff just raised $8.1 million in his Senate race.
Yep.
Wow. And he is benefited by this stupid censure, right?
Censure, right.
Yeah.
Well, and it seems to boggle the minds of the MTGs and all that crowd. They seem to be amazed by it. But then Trump's like, I got impeached twice, and it made me even more popular. Just, he's passing this kind of like, obese Juan Kenobi idea that if you try to strike him down, he only becomes more powerful, which is true of Schiff, but not of Trump.
Right.
Quite frankly, the donor story is about people going, no, these impeachments were serious.
So
These charges about classified documents are serious.
You've always your predictions tend to be eerily accurate.
Spot on.
So, what do you think, in terms of, because everyone's always said he's not running for president, he's running to stay out of prison.
Right.
I mean, so how long does he keep the grift up? Depending on when indictments come down, more of them.
Basically, he's playing a game of chicken with his own physical well-being and his legal ability to push back against these things. Because his game for years has been to throw all the evidence out into the public eye through Page 6 and Forbes and all this other stuff, and then claim later he can't get a fair trial because all the evidence is already out there. He obviously leaked the last
thing, right? And implied Jack Smith did. You're like, what? No, you obviously leaked it.
He's like, they're leaking, this leaky. All right, look, first of all, you can't leak a lie. So anything he says is a leak is an admission on his part. And secondly, he's physically, mentally, I've been watching this dude since lockdown. I did all of his rallies all during the 2020 election and the post ones. I've watched this kind of like degraded version of what's going on there, and he gets these puff-ups where you can tell he got a fresh batch of Adderall and crushed Sudafed, and he'll have a little spike where he for a day and a half he's okay, and then it just gets really bad. And the problem is, look at the Brett Baer interview. That is a linchpin point in his legal future and his mental state. So because between that stress and the inability to actually keep his trap shut.
So we're in the same race. Arteries, the law. Okay.
That's right.
So what's your prediction? Is he going to be the nominee? And if he's not, who is?
There will be a dogfight around DeSantis and others for the primary. Someone will squeak it out with 35% when he drops out.
Will Chris Christie eat any of the remaining candidates?
Stop it!
I'm just asking. It's not like it's not